call your first witness, Mr.
Before we do, Your Honor, just a couple of housekeeping.
Sure.
Mr. Tyler and I make an approach. We agree to joint trial exhibits 1 through 20. We have two here for the jury, one for the witness. Your Honor has one.
Okay.
And then I have one more, which is agreed to as well. This is Plaintiff's Exhibit 21.
Okay.
Which is, this is the only color copy I have.
Are you going to have the jurors refer to them during testimony, or are you going to put them up on the screen?
My plan is some of them, yes.
Okay.
It might be helpful for the jury to have the books, Your Honor, as well.
Do we have a copy for the jury?
We have 2 copies that they can share.
Okay. All right. Why don't you put one on the table back there for the jury? Or 2. Yeah, that'd be good. All right.
You want to move to admit, Dave?
Yeah, if I didn't, I'd move to admit
All right.
all 21 exhibits.
All right.
Okay.
I move for separation of witnesses.
Parties' joint exhibits are admitted.
And move for separation of witnesses.
All right. Anyone in the courtroom going to testify in this matter? You're to leave the courtroom, other than plaintiff and the defendant. Anyone any witnesses? Okay. Guess they're all out.
First witness is Barbara Garland.
Give me a fresh water. Garland, you want to raise your right hand and be sworn, ma'am? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge? I do. Please be seated.
Afternoon, Ms. Garland. For the record, would you state your name?
Barbara Garland.
Barbara, what is your relationship to the plaintiff, Veronica Harris?
I'm her mother.
How old are you?
70.
And where do you live?
I live in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Is that where you were born and raised in that area?
Actually not. I was born in Texas, and I was raised in Mississippi, but when I got married, I moved away, and I just recently moved back about 16 years ago.
Right. Are you still working?
Yes, I am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher in a small Christian school, and I'm the church financial secretary.
Where does your daughter live, Veronica, right now?
She lives in Tupelo, Mississippi now.
Now, back in 2008, where did she live?
In Hobart, Indiana.
Now, before 2008,
Thanks, Mom.
your daughter had cancer and a serious surgery, is that right? At MD Anderson?
At MD Anderson, yes.
And after the surgery and her move back to Hobart, were you living in Mississippi?
Yes, I was.
Did you care for her at all while she was in Hobart?
No, sir.
Did you ever have an occasion when she was after her surgery to visit her in Hobart?
Yes, she had surgery in August, and I went at the end of May, right in that area, 1st of June. I think it was the end of May, as soon as school was out.
2008?
I believe. The surgery was August 2008. I thought the surgery was 2009.
Well, her hip surgery was in 2009. Okay, I'm sorry. I got my year wrong, too. The year that she had her hip surgery, if I tell you that was in 2009, was that the year in May or June that you saw her in Hobart?
After she
Before she fell.
Okay, yes.
Did you ever have an occasion to accompany her to physical therapy?
Yes, I went with her while I was there one time.
And the months again were,
End of May, 1st of June, I just know school was out.
this was a facility in Holden at St. Mary's?
Yes.
Tell the jury what you observed while you were at that visit.
Well, I wanted to see what all she was doing for therapy, so she was on several different, she did several different things, but, and they had chairs around the therapy room, and I would just move around and sit down and watch her. And at the one time, she was put on a treadmill, and then she was left alone, and it scared me. I just walked over there and I said, oh, that scares me to death. But of course I didn't, touch anything or whatever. And then the therapist came back and stopped it
Where did you see the therapist go?
to another patient.
How did your daughter get from wherever she was to the treadmill?
Oh, the therapist took her to the treadmill.
Right, but
Yes.
what, did she use any kind of a device?
A belt. She had some kind of belt on her where she,
And how about your daughter? How was she ambulating? Was she using a cane?
a walker.
All right. And this was again in May or June.
Yes.
Any other visits?
I did not know.
Now, your daughter lives in Mississippi as well, but not with you.
No, not with me, but close.
How long has she lived close to you in Mississippi?
She moved June of 2011. So,
During that time that she's been near you in Mississippi, have you ever seen her walk with a cane?
no.
I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination?
Can we have the input?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mrs. Governor.
Hi.
My name is John Manager. I'm an attorney that represents the St. Mary Medical Center. I just have a few follow-up questions for you, okay? Is this your first time testifying in court?
Yes, I believe it is.
All right. Well, are you nervous?
Not really. Not
It makes
too.
one of us then. It's my first time cross-examining someone, so we'll get through this together, right? And you said you're from Mississippi, right? Okay. And on October 1st, 2009, the date that Karanda fell, you lived in Mississippi then too?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so you were not on the St. Mary Medical Center premises when Karanda fell, right?
No.
Okay. And you have no first-hand knowledge about the fall?
No, I don't. Just,
Okay. So anything you know about the fall is just based upon what Karanda has told you or someone else has told you, right?
yes.
Okay. And when did you first learn about the accident or Karanda's fall?
Well, after...
Well, Your Honor, with all due respect, and I understand it's the first time, but this is way beyond the scope of my direct examination. I can't be extremely limited.
Well, he kept it limited, but still, he brought in a witness to prove that because she let him, she ran.
Overruled, go ahead.
Okay. So what were you saying? Sorry.
She asked me when I first heard of her phone.
Yes.
Her husband called me that day that she had fallen after she got to the hospital.
Okay. And did he tell you how she felt at that time?
I know he said she fell at therapy
Okay.
and broke her hip. I don't know that he told me.
Okay. And when did you learn that these circumstances would fall?
Well, after she, she had surgery on her hip, then I was talking to her, and she said there was a rug at the therapy center, and I just was walking the track with the cane, and I tripped on that rug.
Okay. And just to go back to a little bit about what Mr. Servan was talking about. So you visited from Mississippi in, what was it? You said end of May, beginning of June of 2009.
Right, I just know I teach, so I know it was after school was out.
Okay, and you went to therapy with Karanda, right?
Yes.
And this was the only time you went to therapy with her?
Yes.
Okay. And if the accident occurred on October 1st, then this was probably 4 or 5 months prior to her fall.
Right.
Right? Okay. And at this time when you went with Karanda, how was she getting around?
With the walker.
Okay. So she wasn't using a cane?
No.
Okay. And specifically about the time that you visited in the end of May, beginning of June, how did you get to, did you and Karanda, did you drive Karanda, or how did you guys get there?
I did not. Another girl drove us there, and then I went in with her.
Okay.
The
And,
girl had trying to get out of the vehicle that we were in. She helped her get out, and then I went in with her.
okay, and who was that drove you?
Brooke, y'all.
Brooke Earl. Okay. And how is she, how do you know her?
She was taking care of my daughter at the time.
Okay. Okay, and so she dropped the two of you off, and then she didn't come into the facility?
Not that time, she didn't.
Okay, so it's just you two. Okay. And so when you got out of the car, you went into the front entrance of the facility, right? Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to put up, I'm going to put up some photos for the jury, and I'm going to ask you to refer to that big book right in front of you.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what page to refer to in a second. Okay, that would be just tab 1 and then page 1. All right, does that appear to be a photo of the facility that you and Karanda went in that day?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And so you went in the first set of double doors, correct? That's shown there?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember on the outside, of the facility, before you walk in, was there a rug or a mat of any type?
I honestly do not remember.
Okay, that's fine. And then you walked in to the second,
Yes.
to the little enclosure, right?
Yes.
Remember if there was a rug there?
I don't. I really don't.
Okay. And then you go through the second set of doors, and I think we can see it on this photo pretty well. Do you know if that rug was there?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
I was more interested in her than I really don't remember.
I completely understand. So when we're in the, so then you're in the lobby, right? And you and Karanda, what happened next? Where did you go from the lobby?
Okay, we walked over to this low kind of, I guess, therapy table, and she sat down on that, waiting on the therapist, and I sat in a chair which was beside it.
Okay, and so you're talking about you actually went in the next set of doors off the tile and into the treatment area?
Yes.
Okay. Before you did that, do you remember if Karanda, not showing this picture, do you know if Karanda went to a check-in desk? That would be, if you're looking at the picture to the left.
Okay. I did not remember that. When I gave my deposition, I did not remember any signing in place. But then I got to thinking later, and I asked her, I said, was there a lobby and you signed in? And it just kind of came back to me, but I didn't remember it at the time.
Okay, but so you remembered after you talked to her?
Right, yes. Well, I remembered it, and I asked her if that's, I said, was there a little lobby and kind of a counter and you signed in? And she said, yes.
Okay, but do you have any, do you remember specifically that if Karanda went and signed in that day?
I believe she did. I did not remember that at first, but I believe she did.
Okay. And then, so after that, when you said you guys went into the facility, and did you have to, do you remember that rug right there?
I don't.
So So you don't remember
I
if you
don't.
crossed over that road?
No, I don't.
Okay. Assuming that that road was there,
Mhm.
would you have had to cross over that road on your way into the treatment facility?
Yeah, it's,
Okay. And then you said that you went to a treatment table, is that right? Okay. And so where is the treatment table? Is that shown in this? You see that in this photo?
no, no.
No? Okay.
It was on the other side of the therapy room.
Okay. When you walked in the facility, or when you started coming into the treatment area, did you see a sign on the door? We can show you, if you flip to tab 1, page 8. Okay. You see that the sign says, please have a seat and wait for your therapist to start your treatment. Right?
Yeah, I see that. Did you ask me if I remember that?
Oh, I'm going to ask you that. Do you remember seeing that sign on the door? No? Okay. But do you think, just because you don't remember it, it still could have been your memory?
Objection, Your Honor. She's already testified she doesn't remember me. Not only that, but I asked her about 5 questions.
Why, we're getting way beyond,
We're going to be on the scope now?
pretty far.
Well, he talked about her first visit there, and this is all has to do with her visit. She's all the source of her visit.
She testified she doesn't remember the
She doesn't
sign.
remember.
Okay, well, okay.
I believe he was asking a different question though at the time of the objection.
All right. What was the question?
Is it possible that just because you didn't see the sign, the sign could have been there?
Oh, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Well, that's pure speculation. What?
I mean, she didn't see the sign, she didn't see the sign.
Okay. All right, move on. All right, then, so after you guys are at the treatment table, then what happens?
The therapist came over there and talked with Rhonda, and I'm thinking, I know at one time they put like hot packs on her, and she put her on several different machines, things, which none were really dangerous. She would be sitting down, one of them was to do her legs and different things, and then I just would move and sit where she was, and then she went, and then she took her and put her on the treadmill and left her, because she had 2 or 3 different people she was working with, and she would leave her on one thing and go take care of them, and that was, but when she put her on that treadmill, it just scared me.
Okay, and when you observed her on the treadmill, were you still at the treatment table?
No, I had gone around, there were chairs all around where you could sit and watch, and I was sitting in a chair over closer to the treadmill.
Okay, if you flip to picture 4 of tab 1. And then I think picture 4 and picture 3. Does that represent the chair, maybe the area that you're sitting? Okay. And so you're... Oh, sorry. Okay. So your back would have been facing the treadmill area, correct, in the treatment area?
Well, I just kind of turned, so I could watch her, yeah.
So you moved the chair, and then but you were still sitting in that
Yeah.
position where the chair was? Okay. And so you said that she went on a variety of different machines, right? Do you remember what the first machine that she
I mean, I don't. I just remember her being on several. The only other one I really remember was where she was sitting down and she was kind of like a bicycle, but she was just sitting
Okay.
down on it.
Okay. And so getting to the treadmill. So you said that the therapist left her, brought her to the treadmill, walked her with her to the treadmill, right?
Yes.
And then after that, she let her keep walking on the treadmill, and then she let her go tend to other patients.
Yes.
And did you see those other patients at that time?
Well, there were several in there.
Okay. And what about in the waiting area? Did you see anybody, remember anybody sitting in those chairs right when you walk in to the right?
I don't
You don't remember? Okay. And I think if you look at some of these photos, most of the treadmills look like they have handrails. So when you saw Karan on the treadmill, was she holding on to the handrails?
Well, obviously, she would have had to bend.
Okay, why do you say that?
Well, because she couldn't stand up without holding onto her walker.
Okay, so
So she would have had to been holding.
okay, so she couldn't stand up without the walker at that time.
Well, not walk.
Okay. At that time, did you observe her having any trouble on the treadmill?
No, it was going very slow.
Okay.
It scared me.
Okay, and I think you said that you went and you said that scares me to death, right?
Yeah.
Did you say that to yourself or did you say that to someone else?
I just said it.
Okay. And did you go over, did you actually get up from the
I
chair?
did. Yes, I did.
Okay, so you got up from the chair and you went, and you actually, how close did you get? Did you go right up to the treadmill?
There's just between the one before and that one.
Okay. So you say, could you say how many feet you were away from the treadmill?
Oh, no. A foot or two. I mean, I was close.
Okay. And you're positive that at that time there was no physical therapist or a therapist assistant around her?
Yes, I'm positive.
Okay. And, but she had a belt on at that time, right? Is that what I think you said?
That's what the physical therapist helped, put on her, but it wasn't connected to the treadmill or anything.
So it was around her waist, is that right?
Yeah.
And was it, was the other end, was it hanging somewhere or?
It's been so long, I really, really don't remember. I don't remember. I just remember her leaving her there.
Okay. So it's been 5 years, right?
Yes.
So you don't remember a lot, but you're positive that there was no one in the vicinity.
I am positive of that, yes, because I talked about it later. I just, it was just something that I thought it was a little early to be leaving her alone on that. The other things weren't dangerous.
Okay. And is there any way you could have confused the treadmill for another piece of equipment?
No.
No? Okay. And in between like the treadmill and the other equipment that she was using, how did Karanda get to those pieces of equipment?
The therapist took her with her walker, but she used her walker.
Okay, so the therapist was there and she used her walker?
Right, and then she would put her on one and then go take care of another patient,
Okay. Sorry to back up just real quick. When you guys walked into the facility, you said that or the treatment area, you went immediately to the table, right? And you sat down, and she sat down at the treatment table. And at that time, before you saw a therapist or physical therapist assistant, no one, Karanda didn't start walking around the track.
Oh, no. She wasn't walking. She was walking with a walker at that time, but she just went over and sat down.
Okay, so there was no walking around the track prior to that time?
No.
Okay. Do you know how long that that the physical therapist assistant or the physical therapist left Karana on the treadmill for?
I could guess, but I don't, I mean, I really don't
Yes,
know.
that's okay. And at that time, did you, in any time during your visit that day, did you see anybody walking around the track? Any other patients?
No, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. There was more than one physical therapist in there working with people.
Okay, but you didn't see any of those physical therapists with patients
Not
walking
that I
around the
know.
track?
I don't know. I was just mainly paying attention to what she was doing.
Okay, and you don't know if you saw any patients walking by themselves?
No, I don't know that.
Okay. Okay, and then after, did Karana do any walking on the track that day? Maybe after her, the other things that you testified to?
I don't think she did the day that I was there. I don't think she did. I think she was mainly on just different machines, and then she laid on that table and they put like a hot pack, or maybe some kind of electrode thing, whatever. But
Okay, so you don't think she walked around the track at all?
I don't think so that day.
Okay. Do you remember that you said that you talked a little bit earlier about you had your deposition taken, right? Earlier in this case.
Yes.
And that was by my boss, right, Steve? Okay. You went to Mississippi. And at that time, do you remember if Steve asked you the same kind of question? Do you remember or no?
You asked me the same kind of questions you're asking me.
Okay, but specifically my question with regard to if she was walking on the track.
I don't remember. I mean, maybe he did. I don't remember.
Okay, so you just really just don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. After the after the surgery in Texas, in Mississippi, or no, the surgery in Texas. Sorry.
Indiana.
Yep. Do you remember? But prior to October 1st, do you remember ever observing Karanda fall or fall anywhere or?
After her surgery in August, I never saw her until May.
Okay, so at that time was the first time you saw her since
Yes.
that surgery. Okay. What about what about after the fracture hit? Do you remember Karanda ever talking about her falling somewhere?
Objection, Your Honor. It is way beyond the scope of my direct examination, and the fracture is it's totally
Sustained.
May I be heard on that?
No, yeah.
Wait, I think he gets to decide if I may be heard on.
Yeah, you approach.